All right, I call to order the meeting and we'll start with the approval of the agenda. Are there any amendments to the agenda?
I have none.
All right, looks like there are not. Are there any stated conflicts of interest for agenda items? I believe everyone had a chance to look at it previously.
I'm guessing that I am looking in the wrong place because no one else is mentioning that they don't have an agenda.
I saw, oh,
Or did it
And
come to?
it was I just sent it out earlier this afternoon, so it should have come to you about that time.
Okay, okay, yeah, never mind. I'm looking at the wrong one. I
Okay.
think.
I did mention we have had quite a few agendas.
Okay, got it. No, I got it. I got it.
I'll give you a second to like glance over it, but it's not too crazy.
That's about a second's all I need.
All righty.
Good to go.
Okay, so moving on to discussion items. We'll start with the first bullet, introduction of Meryl, and I don't want to get your last name wrong, so I'll let you introduce your last name, from Neighborhood Design Center.
Sure. Thanks, Jamie. So I'm Meryl Hambleton. Sounds basically like Hamilton, which is what people think it is a lot of the time. And yeah, it's such a pleasure to be with you. I just want to apologize in person for having to cancel our last meeting. As I told Jessica, in a freak accident, my dog jumped off the second-story roof of our apartment building like 10 minutes before our meeting, and he's fine. But it was I was like trying to pull myself together and just sobbing, and I was like, I think this isn't the right frame of mind to head into my first meeting with all these folks. So I'm so glad to be with you all, and thank you for being flexible and rescheduling and rolling with the changes. So yeah, I'll just share a little bit about my background, if that would be helpful. So I have worked with Neighborhood Design Center off and on for about 6 years. I was working with them full time up until about 1.5 years ago, and then I left to go to school for design and landscape architecture, and now I'm back and rejoined about 3 months ago full time as the program manager for cultural programming and arts planning. So my background is I have a BA in history, and I have a master's in social design from the Maryland Institute College of Art. And I before coming to Baltimore, worked in public art in New York City for an organization called Creative Time that produced public art projects throughout New York City and elsewhere. And I also worked for a public artist producing projects, typically mural projects in different places around the country. And so I'm, so thrilled to be part of this project, which sounds like it has wonderful intentions and will be sort of integral to working with an artist to come up with something worthy of being the town seal. So I'm so excited to bring my skills to bear on the project. And it sounds like from talking to Jessica, you all have a pretty good sense of how Neighborhood Design Center works. Is that true? Would it be helpful for me to offer any kind of further context there? Or?
From my end, I think they've done a really good job introducing themselves with the previous contact we had, and I feel very comfortable, but I don't want to speak for everybody, so.
I think we're pretty comfortable.
Okay, good. Well,
I think we're great.
I'm here
excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, should you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. And I guess I'll just share that one of my most recent projects with NDC, which ended in my last stint when I was full-time, we had a 2-year grant from the National Endowment for the Arts to do planning around public space lighting in Baltimore City. And because that project was supported by the NEA, we did a lot of work with artists, and it was super exciting to see how that collaboration happened and just resulted in really beautiful design work, and also allowed us to do some creative and thoughtful engagement around what people need and want in their space. So yeah, looking forward to bringing some of that to this work. And yeah, I mean, if we have time and folks are open to it, I'd love to kind of meet you all and just hear briefly kind of why you're here and what your investment in this particular project is.
I think we can certainly go around and each introduce ourselves that are able to attend the meeting and do a quick rundown. And if everyone is good with that, thumbs up. Yeah, I'll kick it off. So I'm Jamie, Jamie Spawn. I moved to Riverdale Park in 2018, and I moved to DC in 2017 and spent the entire year looking for a place to live that fit all the criteria that I was looking for and was affordable for our budget, which is quite the balancing act. And my husband found this perfect little pocket of Riverdale Park, and the second we drove by, and this was after the full year, we saw it as like, I'm done. Find me a house for sale and buy it no matter what the cost is. Of course, he said I was not allowed to talk to the realtor after saying that, but there are so many things that draw me to Riverdale Park. So when I saw or heard about the idea of a redesign to the seal, I do have a little bit of art background with photography and such, but more I wanted to bring the excitement and enthusiasm that I felt to the community into representing that in a visual design.
Awesome. Thanks, Jamie.
Should I jump in next?
Go ahead, Rush.
Cool. Okay, Rush, resident here since I want to say 2013, 2012, 2013, but bought a house in 2015. Before that, I lived in New York, where I went to Cooper Union and studied art, got my BFA there, and got my MFA in painting and printmaking. Came back to the area to teach at University of Maryland, doing some adjunct work, and then actually was the public art coordinator for Parks and Rec here in Prince George's County for about 2 years before taking over as director of Brentwood Arts Exchange. And now I work full-time in my studio and do some consulting at the university. And Richard, my good friend, tapped me to come on this committee to lend any expertise I might have. So great to meet you.
Hi, Richard Smith. I am a council member for Ward 1 here in Riverdale Park. Moved here 2014. Before that, lived in DC. Before that, Arlington. Before that, too many places. I probably have gotten some of your emails. In my day job, I am a FLAC for a media affairs staffer for the National Education Association. So we frequently get media requests that are meant for the National Endowment for the Arts, and we have to respond, this is the other NEA, sorry. So yep, that's me.
Nice.
Jessica, do you want to go next?
Sure. Meryl and I have had the chance to talk, but my name is Jessica Barnes. I'm the Director of Administrative Services with the town of Riverdale Park. I've been with the town for 10 years now, and Riverdale Park is a very, very special community. So I'm excited to work with you and go through this really great process to engage our residents and hear more about what they'd like to see on the town seal.
We got to talk to John and get you a different title. That's like Director of Administrative Services is like, it's not big enough.
It's kind of boring. I like to be the director
Coordinator
of
of
fun.
all the things for town of Riverdale Park.
I like that. I'll take that.
And that brings us to Councilmember Lingua, if you want to hop in.
Sure, why not? Dave Lingua, council member for Ward 3, moved here in March of 2000. two, that pretty much sums it up. Work in the arts over at Dodge Chrome in Silver Spring. Yeah, pretty much does it.
Nice.
Great.
Thank
So
you.
we're all
Thank you.
excited to be a part of the team. It's been a great team. Everyone, I continuously say after having the meeting, I love all the energy that all of our members bring to it. It's a diverse group. So we're very excited to include you into it.
Awesome. Well, very glad to be here. And great to hear kind of everyone's backgrounds, which are super interesting, and yeah, good to know that. So I know on the agenda now it says talking about Trolley Day. Did you all want to just spend a little bit of time kind of reviewing the broader scope of work and thinking about a cadence for when we would want to set up our meetings, just to kind of get things rolling with our process? Does that work for everyone time-wise tonight?
That sounds great.
Awesome. Cool. So I'm just I can pull up the scope of work if that's all right. Jessica, do I have screen sharing access? Oh, it looks like I do. Okay. Oops. Can you all see that? Okay, great. Yeah, so I think first of all, Jessica and I had talked about just, finding a rhythm of meeting that would work for you all. I know this is stuff you're doing in your off hours. So with respect to that, I think we talked about trying to meet monthly. And I think that would be a great rhythm just to keep us moving with some pace forward. Does that sound reasonable to everyone? Cool. Okay.
Works for me.
Awesome. And is this time slot a good one for folks? Do we want to sort of nail this down as our regular meeting time, or would it is Tuesday? Let me know what seems good for you all.
It does seem like the 7:30 time slot works well. And I would say, if I'm remembering correctly, either Tuesdays or Thursdays tend to be what we target, depending on how each month kind of plays out.
Cool.
So I know we also do check with Jessica, make sure that there's not any conflicts with her commitments as well. So I'm hesitant to specifically say a day or date, but I think we can say yes to 7:30.
Cool. Okay. That's great. That works well for me. And I know I know you all have been meeting typically over Zoom, probably at this point more for like logistical reasons maybe than health ones, although tell me if that's not true. But and I know there's been some conversation about trying to do some different walking tours and just meeting out in the town, which sounds awesome. And I would really love to do that. I know, unfortunately, Trolley Trail Day would be such a great opportunity. And unfortunately, I'm going out of the country on Saturday. So, but I would love to find time to do that and to visit Riversdale House, which would be incredible. I drove past it the other day on my way to our office, and I I would love to make that happen. So I don't know if it feels too aggressive to start putting dates for those things on the calendar, but I don't know. I would love to get those stakes in the ground if it works for you guys.
Let's get aggressive.
Yeah,
Cool.
I would say usually at the meeting prior, we try and figure out our next meeting. So we are all for diving in, which would bring us to July.
Yeah.
I would say maybe the first week might be crazy with 4th of July.
Mhm.
But looking after that, the second, third, or fourth week, does anybody have any preferences or conflicts that they want to jump in with?
So I'm out of town the 24th through the 28th. So perhaps the second or third week would be best.
Okay. How about the week of the 10th through the 14th? Let's see. Oh,
Works for
sorry,
me.
Bumblebee. There we go. All right, does anybody not have capabilities to make it that week that is currently on the meeting?
Yeah, so I'm gonna be out of town until July 16th. And then again, the 20th through the 23rd. So pretty much in July, the only opening I have is the 17th through the 19th, which is a narrow window. I know.
The 18th, so Tuesday, July 18th. Does that conflict with anybody?
Works for me.
And let me just make sure, is it Morel or Merrill?
It's Meryl, like Meryl Streep or Meryl Lynch or whatever.
And definitely want to make sure that that would work with you.
Yes.
Okay,
That's great for
let's
me.
go ahead and nail that in. So Tuesday, July 18th at 7:30. Now, what type of meeting are we wanting to do? Are we wanting to do like a hybrid where maybe we try and meet and do like a little walking tour and then meet, and then anyone who is not able or comfortable to meet in person can hop on with video? Or do we want to keep it video, or do we want to just do in person? What are your thoughts?
Anyways, fine by me.
In person works for me.
Yeah, I think in person is good, especially with Meryl on board now. Let's, get out there and let her see as much of the community as we can.
I would love that. That would be really fun for me and super helpful for me to get my arms around your place. So that would be great.
Jessica, would
Go ahead,
you
Jamie.
be willing to reach out to the Riverdale's house and see if there is anything open to where we could do a inside tour? If not, we can always do an outside walk by. That is still very pretty. And then kind of plan a plan B if they are not able to accommodate something. Maybe meet at a coffee shop or at the barbecue joint, or there's so many great options.
That sounds great. I was also thinking that one of the things we were talking about doing for Trolley Trail Day was collecting some names and some people who might be interested. So we might have like a little email group by that point. And maybe if there's anybody else who wants to join us for this walk or this visit, I think that would be great. And on Saturday, I've got this designed very well. You'll be right next to the Riversdale Historic Society. So there's going to be some good discussions happening between the committee and our folks from Riversdale. And I think we can get this all arranged nicely for you.
Yay, thank you. That'll be wonderful.
Awesome.
So is that, assuming that Riversdale is available, is that would that be the primary place spot we'd be for the meeting? Like, are there other places in town that we would walk to around? My concern is just I want to make sure that as part of this process, we're not just doing everything west of the river, and that we really get to see all of the town and all of our residents.
Couldn't agree more, Councilmember Smith. I was thinking an idea I had was maybe we could start at Riversdale and go down Riverdale Road to Kenilworth and maybe loop back around. That wouldn't give us a complete cross section of the community, but I do think it's really important that we see some of our neighborhoods that we that are located east of the Anacostia. They're very vibrant communities. They're rich with cultural diversity. So I want to make sure that we hit those as well. So it depends on how everyone's feeling. I'm always up for, I love the walk and talk. So I am open to working on our route, and then we can make some decisions from there.
I think that sounds great for a starting point. I would say maybe I'm not sure what everybody's mobility level is. So I don't know if we want to start with maybe either a target like distance or time frame for what would be comfortable. If everyone is like down to walk, let's do it. But I don't want to push anybody outside of their comfort zone. And also I would say that maybe this is one of multiple meet and explore endeavors we have. Maybe next time we be very specific to go to another spot and then really try and diversify our location instead of trying to just do one meeting spot and kind of do a little loop. We could do like really check out one quadrant and then another. That's a thought.
Great idea.
Works for me.
I would venture the guess that I have the worst knees of the group, and it works for me. So
Awesome. That sounds really exciting for me. Can't wait to walk around with you all. I'm hoping before that meeting that I might just take an afternoon and come walk around on my own too. So I might, if it's okay, kind of do a bit of email polling of the group for, you know, suggested walking route, and I can do a bit of a longer route myself and just get acquainted, and then it'll be great to hear you all kind of your take on different parts of the town. So I can follow up with you about that. We don't need to go over at the moment, but I'd love to do that too.
That sounds good. Definitely. I would say use this as a resource for ideas and, you know, walk around, bike around, drive around. There's so many great options for exploring the area.
Awesome. Yeah, I am so excited. Like, this is one of my first projects outside of Baltimore City. So I've previously only really worked with the NDC's office in Baltimore. And I'm just getting to know Prince George's more, and it's really it's pretty exciting for me. It's a great new space to get familiar with. So yeah, I think before we go through the different engagement modes, I think Jessica and I had talked about that it would be too much to try to cover in this introductory kickoff meeting, and I think that's totally right. And it's, you know, it's evening, but a couple of things that I'd love to make time for in our next conversation. And I can also think through what we might be able to do potentially like over email or a shared group document or something like that, would be just starting to think through some basic kind of values or principles around this design process for the group. It's something that we often do with engagement work for Neighborhood Design Center, just because it creates a really helpful way to check our work. And once we've kind of developed a set of agreed upon values for the undertaking, then it kind of it helps every step of the process. So when you're designing the engagement, when you're looking at who you've talked to and who you haven't, all those pieces, like, you can say, okay, well, we've decided that, you know, equity is one of our values. So are we meeting that in, you know, the events that we've decided to pop up at, or, you know, things like that. So I think that could be something to, I know we're kind of going to be jumping in with Trolley Day anyway, but I think it could still be useful to make time for that during our next in-person conversation, if that sounds good to you all.
I think that does sound good. And I think giving a little bit of time before it comes up will let people kind of think through new ideas, but also I'd like to go back and look at some previous meeting notes because I know we've hit on some great points as to areas that we want to focus on beforehand too. So I don't want to leave any of those previous gems out either. And it looks like Council Member Lingua's got a hand raised. Please go ahead.
That I do. That I did. Now I'm going to put my hand up. Meryl, probably one of the documents that would help get this started, and Ms. Barnes can help in getting you a copy, is the town's vision and commitment statement.
Jessica did mention that to me. Yes, it sounds really amazing.
So, and then, I mean, we can just, it's something to start and build off of that.
Great. I love that. Well, what I think might make sense is for me to spend some time with that document. I've looked through some previous meeting notes, but I will take another kind of comb through those with that kind of values, principles lens on. And what I can do is put together kind of a loose like set of prompts around those values based on those other documents to get us thinking about it leading into our next meeting. And hopefully that will facilitate the conversation and make it make it a little more fluid.
That sounds great.
Cool. So let's just run through, if it works for you guys, the different modes of engagement that we have discussed that are sort of in the scope of work for the project. And it would be great, you know, I know, Jessica, this is probably something you have at least at top of mind, but if there are specific events like Trolley Day that are coming to mind as we talk through the different engagement opportunities, it would be great to just kind of get those written down so we can see, you know, especially if we're meeting a month apart, like just making sure we see in advance where opportunities for engagement might be. And if you guys probably already know this, you know, intimately, but I would love to hear from you on it. So yeah, so we can just jump in. Obviously we talked about the farmers market. So I think that is an excellent and obvious point of conversation. And it would be great to hear from you guys, like, does that feel like it's a representative kind of subset of the community? You know, we talked about kind of using that as an opportunity to inform folks about the project, to collect email addresses and communication information for, you know, keeping people in touch on the project. Does that align with what you all have been thinking? Great.
I think we might need some more robust engagement in the farmers market. We do, it is a good place to interact with people. I don't know that it touches the full community, especially not as much east of the river. And for that part of the community, we would definitely need Spanish language speakers.
Okay. Just taking some notes here, so.
And then are you just focusing on like boots on the ground, like in-person interactions, or also including like social media, the town crier, and those type of platforms, maybe like signage on like walking paths?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think so. In previous sort of engagement efforts where we've tried to, you know, reach a broad and representative, you know, subset of the community, I've found that all of those methods are necessary. And, you know, in addition, thinking about, okay, if there's a subset of folks who aren't coming to the farmers market, but maybe also aren't on social media or aren't connected digitally, what are some, you know, paper collateral methods that you could use? Like, can you leave flyers? Can you put up you know, for a project, we distributed little like feedback cards at people's apartment doors. So there's, I think, you know, again, and this is getting into the other piece that I think, you know, when Jessica and I talked, we thought it would be more than we wanted to dive into tonight, but really hammering out that list of stakeholders that we want to talk to. So, you know, I think the engagement tools should come out of that question of who we want to talk to. So these are kind of, think of these, I guess, as broad categories of engagement types that I think we'll want to work backwards and tailor to, you know, the folks in groups that we're talking, that they're aiming to talk to. And I think it's also, you know, there's always a bit of like testing and reorienting. So like you could go to the farmer's market, think you're going to talk to, you know, groups from, you know, X, Y, and Z backgrounds and realize that actually you only talk to one of those and that you need a new method to reach another group. So I think that there'll be some of that kind of seeing who we reach, seeing who we've missed. Like that's a key question that we ask at NDC is like, who's missing? So I think, yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Jamie, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I was trying to think through this, and I don't know if this would be like a fun option, but at the places where we actually do have a table, you know how you've seen like at coffee shops or something, like a map, and it's like, stick your pin where you're from. I wonder if we could have a map of the town, Riverdale Park, what do you call it, boundaries. One, to also like, some people don't appreciate what is all covered in Riverdale Park. So one is a little bit of education, like, oh, you know, Riverdale Park represents all of this. And also as like a fun interactive, like, oh, if you want to, you know, put the pin where you are, or kind of in your neighborhood, and then we can actually have like a hard copy if people aren't wanting to leave like addresses or phone number of like, oh, we're doing really great at hitting this area, but this area is blank. Like now how can we make an effort to get this area involved too?
Yeah, I love that. I think that's a great idea. And I think especially for like, you know, the scale that we're working at, I think that could be really effective.
And it can even be just like a poster and like grab your favorite color marker and put a dot. Like it doesn't have to be as elaborate as like a bulletin board with pins.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I would be happy to help lay something like that out, and you know, get it to you guys, to you if you want to try to do that, even starting with trolley day. I don't know if it fits with the setup you have for that table, but we could, you know, we could go ahead and just start that as a way of tracking who we're talking to. I think it's a great idea.
So what do you think about, we have you may have seen it on election day, but we have a huge blow up map of the different wards in town. And we could take a different color, like label dot, for each event, and then have people, you know, hey, where are you from type thing, and they could put their dot on the map, and then we can kind of take a picture and say, okay, this is who we hit on this event, and then we can make a different color for the next event, and we can say, okay, so we've covered this area. And so I think we could use that. I like the idea of reusing something we already have, and then we can track it as we move through the process. Is that what you were thinking, Jamie? Would that work?
That's perfect. Yeah.
That's awesome. So this is an existing like large scale map of the different words. Oh, great. Awesome. Yeah, I think that's awesome. I think something to keep in mind while we're tracking that is just like remembering other, like just thinking through if there's a cross section of demographics that we want to be able to track. For instance, it may look like we've talked to a lot of people from the, you know, east side of the Anacostia, but maybe we've only talked to, you know, older men from the east side, you know, like I think just trying to also track those other demographic pieces in terms of what age ranges we want to speak to, you know, what, you know, income level or education, you know, like things like that we want to also make sure we're hitting. but I want to think through a little bit more. I think going ahead and just doing the map is a great idea because it's a simple way to get started. And it sounds like, if I'm hearing correctly, that the town, like, it sounds like there's like some basic sort of demographic representation and like the east versus west side that is important to who's who in the town. Is that accurate? Or maybe you guys could tell me a little bit more about, I'm just picking up.
I mean,
on
it's,
the
I would
subtext
say
of
it's not, and other folks, please, jump in, but, it's not, completely stark. There's, bleed over and, how pretty much any neighborhood is. But there is a larger concentration of, immigrants, people who speak a language other than English in their home, etc. East of the river and west of the river in the areas closer to the river.
I think that I would be, for the map, I would be hesitant to do something where it looks like you're like color coding people.
Oh yeah, no,
Like,
no.
oh, you're
No,
over
no.
50, you get the yellow dot. Like,
No.
but I think having that option to get into the minutia of who we are reaching might be a great thing, where we have people actually fill out, whether it's through email or if we hand out papers that they can hand back, something where they have the option to volunteer information. And it could be like, age range, like check one, male, female, other, or, and again, all of this, like check if you feel comfortable, and then like address or street, cross street, something where it's maybe not too specific or specific, but I think where people are actually taking something, have the time to fill it out, especially if they can take some home, have multiple members fill out, or fill out on social media, or the town crier is like, email us here. I think that would be a great time to get a little bit more specific on the information we're collecting. How does everyone think in lines of that?
So the only thing I can share is that having folks fill things out sometimes is a little difficult for a variety of reasons. So collecting demographic information isn't always easy, but don't forget, we do have the census data. So we can look generally at, the areas of town and the demographics in those areas. So I think we can do it that way. I wanted, one thought I had, and this ties into a capstone project that I recently completed. It's just people want to interact in the way that's most comfortable for them, and that's not the same for everyone in our community. And that's the beauty of this town, is that we're so diverse. So we just have to make sure we give a lot of opportunities. We've tried different surveys and different types of things at the farmers market, for example, and we've done it through the school, and we've had mixed results. So I just feel like one of the things that works for the town is meeting people where they are, and everyone's different and they're in different places. So the best way to approach it, I have found, is just having a variety of ways that people can interact with us. Sometimes the collection of that kind of information is just, it makes people nervous. They don't have that level of trust with really any entity, but government's a little harder too. So just keep those things in mind. But I think we can just be diverse in the way that we reach people, and try really hard to focus on those grassroots efforts, which I've found to always be super successful, and the face-to-face interaction with members of the community. I know it's a lot of labor, and I definitely accept that, but I do find that we get more valuable input. We have plenty of ways we can go through the elementary schools when school's in session. We can, work with our stakeholders, our community stakeholders who've already built the trust in some of these communities. So even through our faith-based communities, working with some partners like CASA, for example, they're really great at helping us to get the word out if we need that. We have things already established and ways to interact with people. I just wanted to share that was one experience I've had over the last 10 years, has just been the difficulty sometimes reaching everyone with the same communication tool.
So it sounds maybe a better way to word this is we're not so focused on making sure pen to paper that we have a diverse, like check all the box. Do we have like 20% this thing and 20% that and the old and young, but making sure we put in the effort to diversify how we reach people and where we reach people and make sure that they have an opportunity to come to us if they want to share their opinion. Is that maybe more accurate for our goal?
And we go to them. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really, really valuable input, Jessica. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I agree. I think it's a challenging thing, right? Because it's so critical to like know who you're talking to, and especially when you're trying to be broad in your outreach. But it is true that I think for various people being asked things like, what language do you speak, or what is your income level? Those start to be uncomfortable questions for people for sure. I think it's, I love the idea of working through established community stakeholders who already have trusting relationships with folks. So that's something we could talk about when we get down to looking at these like focus group level engagements. And I think we can hopefully get into more in our next meeting. What groups do we think we might have more challenges reaching, or who might not be as comfortable with, putting a sticker on a map even, or, reporting some of that basic demographic information. So that's really useful. And I think offering different ways to engage also critical. I'm thinking, so if I'm remembering correctly, you guys have like a little activity already set up for Trolley Day. Is that right? For the town seal conversation?
We do. I think that was discussed at the last meeting, creating a design your own town seal activity for the kids and anybody who's interested in participating, just collecting information, people who want to be engaged in the process. So we'll have a way for people to do that. Rush, am I missing anything? You were at the last meeting too, and Councilman Lingua.
Other than the fact that we'll be right next to RHS, which is very good. And we just talked about really just trying to raise cognition and about the process and that it's going on, and kind of working off that momentum from there. Yeah, you need, if we had something like we could go like raffle off people email address and use give leave your email address and get a chance to win something small but kind of neat. I don't know what, but sometimes throw a little game theory into it, and you can increase participation that way.
Definitely. That definitely works well.
Yeah, and I don't think I have any more to add to to that. That's very in depth.
So I'm wondering if maybe, so it sounds like what's possible for Trolley Day is like letting folks fill out the like design your own town seal, kids or whoever wants to do it, and then also informing people that this is happening and collecting basic contact information. I think if we are diligent about getting folks contact information and their preferred method of communication, that's going to be such a useful tool for us, because then we can go back to those folks either with like, if they like email, maybe we can have a digital survey that we send out. If they prefer phone, we can talk about doing phone interviews. So I think doing that basic contact information collection is going to be super useful. And that maybe if we add the map activity to that would be like a great outcome for Trolley Day, I think.
And I'm going to throw out one more thought. And again, totally no pressure. I don't want there to be overwhelmed with too many things going on. But I did very much like the design your own town seal, very to the point. But I know we have a group of a lot of creative people. But I also know not everyone is as comfortable with the creative or drawing side. So maybe having an option where if drawing is not their calling, it could be like a jar where it's like, or, you know, what do you want the seal to represent? Or what does Riverdale mean to you? And they could write something and throw it in, or have a big poster that they can like write things if like drawing is not their communication mechanism. Just an idea. I don't want to overwhelm the trolley day table.
I think that's really smart. I think you're spot on. Not everybody likes to draw. Not everyone thinks visually. So I think the challenge will be just if we're having the map, information collection, drawing, like how to manage all these different modes of engagement. But I think to me that seems doable. I like the idea of a jar, like even just offering people little paper slips that they can write ideas down on. And maybe we just keep like design your own town seal or share your idea for the town seal area, like off to its own, like just make sure that people have a minute to pause at the table there and it doesn't become too chaotic. How big is the table that you guys have?
It's just your standard folding table. I'm thinking like logistically of putting between, so having the towns table on one side and on the other side having Riversdale, because I think that's a neat opportunity for folks to kind of chat. I mean, I'm talking committee members chat with the folks from Riversdale. So I think we have at least two folding tables, standard folding tables length of space. The ideal for the create your own town seal was just to bring awareness to the process, not really to collect ideas at that time. So it's more just an activity for kids to do, so that they feel part of this like kickoff, if you will, for the process. So we can do the jar or collecting the information, but just knowing that a lot of people who are, this event spans College Park all the way through Hyattsville. So we'll have people that are not necessarily from Riverdale Park. It's not a terrible thing to have input from other folks, but I think the cross section might be a little bit different with this event because it's not a town sponsored event. It's a community, like a regional event. But yeah, we can definitely do that if that's helpful to you, Meryl. We didn't want to overwhelm this event with you not being there also. So will this information be helpful in general?
No, I mean, my concern in like having done table activities that involve drawing in the past, like it can get, if you are trying to sort of have people do them on the spot and then collect them, like there can be this like backlog that happens that is a little stressful. So yeah, I mean, on the one hand, I feel like it would be sad not to see what people draw because they'll probably be super sweet and it would be great to document that. Maybe what we could do is either include an email or a QR code or something and just have people like say like share your idea with us, so they can go home and do it, or they can go off to the table or whatever with their parents and draw something and then either bring it back after if they want to or send a photo in, and maybe we'll collect a few that way. And I think I love the idea of just using it really as like an awareness raising tool, a way to get people excited about it, and we don't have to worry about like not capturing all those ideas. I think we can do if it goes well, maybe we do a subsequent engagement or focus group that's focused on having young people design your own town seal. So I think that makes total sense. And I'd say like, doing the jar, like I'd say why not have that there, just like let people, if they have an idea they want to throw in and just start the conversation. It might give us interesting things to react to, who knows what people are going to throw out there. So I'd say go ahead and do it. But really, yeah, focusing on that question of like who's coming, where they, do your sticker on the map and like get follow-up information if they're interested in the project. I think that would be, a great outcome for Trolley Day.
Great.
I had one other question that popped up related to that. I wanted to ask, do you all feel like at this, like in terms of having those conversations with people at the table, in terms of like, why are we doing this project? Kind of, what is the background? Like, do you all feel you have like your like talking points? Are you comfortable like having that conversation with folks? Do you want more like concrete language around it? Where are you with that piece of this in terms of like talking to a broader audience about the project?
I personally wouldn't be mad at a few bullet points. I mean, I don't have any problem talking about kind of the history of how we, came to all be together and work on this project. But if you have some like kind of best practices for us to look at before we engage with the public, I'm sure that would be more than helpful for all of us that'll be working that day.
Does anyone in the group feel like they have a really great like elevator pitch version of it that they want to share, or? No.
I think the general response is someone asks, well, gosh, why do you want to redesign this? And just the really response back is, well, like most things over time, there needs to be an update. And essentially to be able to reflect what the town of Riverdale Park is today.
Nice. Awesome.
We will also have a translator present for the event. That's part of our protocols moving forward. So we have somebody who's available to help translate for all of our committees and tables and all that good stuff, all public events.
Awesome. That's so great. And I did see in the notes from a previous meeting that you talked about having an ASL translator as part of the project. Is that something that you all have followed up on, or is that something we want to take on for next time?
I would say maybe if we have a specific event where we're targeting that community, but I don't know if I would say for every event, but I don't want to be exclusive. Want to say so I would be very open to hear what the other members feel.
Jamie, that makes sense. I think for this event, we have written text and it would, it'd be kind of like one-on-one exchanges. But if we're having like a community meeting, we'll definitely want to get an ASL person.
Awesome. That sounds really good. Cool. Well, I know we're coming up on 8:30. Do we have like, we're doing 7:30 to 8:30?
I think we kind of unofficially fall into that or try to keep it to that, but it sometimes is shorter, sometimes is a little longer. So kind of just depends on how the discussion flows and what we're trying to cover. It's like a soft rule.
I was gonna say, Viral, too, if you have any questions, like follow-up stuff too, get through your agenda, but email too, and we're pretty responsive.
Awesome. Yeah. And I know, like, I wanted to ask, I just have, you guys are doing a really amazing, diligent job of like keeping meeting minutes and meeting your quorum and all that. So I just want to make sure, like, is email communication and kind of maybe not decision making, but information gathering or information sharing, are you all okay with doing that over email in between our formal meetings?
Yes.
Cool. Great.
Can't make any decisions outside of our public process.
Great. That makes sense. And I certainly respect that and think it's worthy. So But if you all are open to, basic email communication about the project and kind of, maybe idea sharing or whatever, I think it would be great to have that as an option. Cool. Well, so I think just with an eye toward wrapping us up around 8:30, but it sounds like we've got a good date pinned down for our next meeting. And I love that we're going to be able to do that in person. So what I'm hoping we can achieve, in addition to kind of walking around and getting a little bit of a sense of the town together, is using that meeting to really nail down the values and goals for the project. And then I know you all started talking about stakeholders, and maybe you feel like you didn't completely finish that conversation, which is fine. I feel like let's nail down the values and goals first as a group. I also want to spend some time with looking at the census data and just kind of doing my own research to see kind of like pick up on my own, work and observations. So as I mentioned, I want to, before we meet again, spend some time reviewing what was the name of it's not a values document, but the town value statement, is that?
The vision and commitment statements. I'll send you a link to it.
Wonderful. Yes, I'd love to spend some time with that. I'd also love to just review notes from your guys' previous meetings, along with some of my own research, and kind of, again, put together a framework for you guys to look over and react to before we meet again, that I think can guide our conversation when we meet on the 18th. And I'm also going to start to put together, using the kind of basic engagement categories that we've laid out, kind of a more specific, more granular engagement process. So looking at specific dates of events. Jessica, maybe I can communicate with you about like important calendar items that might be coming up, and just understanding exactly who the different kind of officially formed groups are. Just start to kind of propose a cadence of what these different engagement events might look like, and share that with you all when we meet again. Do you guys, it seems like the answer is yes, but tell me if you feel ready for trolley day as just that first kind of point of contact. Anything else you want to talk through about that? Anything else I can do to help before that? Let me know.
Jessica, I know at the beginning you had mentioned making sure that we're all set for trolley day for people, and is that something that we wanted to touch on before conclusion of meeting? I feel other than that, from my perspective, it seems like we're in a good point. And then anyone else, please jump in if something comes to mind that they're unsure about or feel needs a little extra airtime.
Sure, just making sure that we have somebody who can be at the table for the entire time between 12 and 4, because I'll be split between other things too. So do we have folks who are able to be there during the entire time? Melissa does not know yet whether she'll be available. So she had initially said she'd be there the entire time and we were all set, but I'm not sure that she'll be available on Saturday.
I can be there a substantial majority of the time.
That is great.
I couldn't be there the whole time. I need to look at some things. So if you have some holes that need to be filled, and let me know, I might be able to assist with that, but unfortunately I wouldn't be able to do a full day cover.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm available, but I figured we could kind of break it up just depending on who can be there, maybe in the shifts or something. I didn't know if you wanted 2 people there the whole time. I think we talked about that last time, but yeah, I can fit anywhere, or if you guys definitely need me the whole time, let me know.
I can be in and out. My wife is out of pocket that day, so I'll be solo parenting. And I can also bring him over for a little while, but yeah, I can be there for some of the time.
We'll have a lot of kids activities, so I think he would love that, Councilman Smith.
So Jessica, if you could send maybe an email and let us know if anyone is available specific time, maybe they could reach out to Jessica by, oh my gosh, this week is going so quickly. What, by Wednesday, and then you let us know what areas need to be filled. Does that sound doable?
It's perfect.
Yeah. I was
Didn't
thinking
we talk
too.
about schedule for setup last time?
Yeah, I think we said we were going to try to get there. I'll be there at 11 to help with that
Okay.
stuff. I know there's going to be things there. Jessica, I don't know if there's any needs other
All right.
than just being present on the earlier side. And then
Okay.
I
I'll
can
see
say
you
it
then, Russ.
first. What's that?
I'll see you then.
I'll see you then. We got the first wave. And we'll break it up from there.
All right. Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. That will be great.
Yeah. And my only thing is I just want to maybe pop out and just kind of see what's going on for a little bit, but I could also come back. So, and I have some friends that'll be there and we're going to want to hang out and stuff. So I'll be around, but I'll be there at 11 to help with the setup.
Perfect.
Do we have anything else that anybody would like to, oh no, I'm still unmuted. Do we have anything else that anyone would like to share, or any thoughts or any concerns prior to concluding the meeting?
The only thing I'd like to ask is if everyone had had the chance to look at the minutes, I'd like to post them unless we have changes to them. I just want to make sure people can see the entire process. So there were a couple sets of draft minutes that I sent out earlier today. So we can wait till the next meeting, or if everyone's comfortable with them, we can move forward with posting those.
I am
How about we all
comfortable.
try and get them looked at in the next 24?
Okay. I'm comfortable as well. So
Jessica, would it help if we just all email reply giving you a thumbs up after we're comfortable? That way you don't have to remember within the meeting who said yes and no.
Sounds great.
All right, I think that is a wrap. So looking forward to our walk and talk meeting for next month on Tuesday, July 18th at 7:30. We will keep everyone posted about the location. Project about an hour, 7:30 to 8:30. And any other closing remarks from anybody?
I was just gonna say, I talked with Jessica about just kind of taking over the work of just scheduling and running our meetings going forward. So I can go ahead and send out an invite to everybody for the July 18th date. And yeah, we can talk a little bit more about where exactly we want to meet up closer to the time. And such a pleasure to meet you all. Thank you for having me, and I can't wait to start working together.
That sounds great. Thank you.
all right, thanks.
Thanks,
Have
everybody.
a great evening.
Have a great evening, everyone.
Good night, all.
Good night.